What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shan Tynes.
What's up?
And Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So welcome to Monday's episode. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP. I swear I have one. It's coming out. And Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. Make sure you check us out on all the places you can be found. So we're also on the radio. So Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on 0.1 FM or the TuneIn app, as well as your podcast platform of choice, YouTube. You can now go to our website. It actually has stuff on it, theothersideofthefirewall.com or ramcyber.io. And that should pretty much cover it. Oh, and the weekly rundown is back. So we do a newsletter. So you can check that out as well. It's on LinkedIn, and I'll find some other places to put it over the next couple of weeks. I'll figure it out. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article comes from thehackernews.com, written by Ravi Lakshmanan, and the title is 7,000 Device Proxy Botnet Using IoT EOL Systems Dismantled in U.S. Dutch Operations. So still doing the international stings, right? Like the U.S. and the Dutch have gotten together, and so they took on this operation where they started breaking up this ring of malicious actors that have been using infected IoT devices, right? Because we've talked about this before in the past about how the IoT devices get a little neglected when it comes to updating them, making sure they're getting patches, their firmware is good to go, right? And even end of life devices, right? So you make it easier when you have an end of life device where these companies say they'll no longer support it, right? So what ended up happening was there was a domain seizure, right? So there was these Russian nationals, right? And I want to say it was 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 of them. I'm not going to try to pronounce their names. I'm not even going to try this. All 4 with Russian names. So they've been charged by the U.S. Department of Justice for operating, maintaining, and profiting from the proxy services. So what they were doing was they had a subscription service, right? Which everybody's doing nowadays. This is no big surprise, right? You got Microsoft doing it for their Office products, right? So why not have the bad guys jump on board too, right? You know, gaming services are subscription based, right? Do what everybody else is doing. But they were charging a fee from 95 cents to $110 per month, right? Which netted them $46 million selling access to these infected routers, right? So this is crime does pay. We've said it before, crime does pay, but eventually you can end up in this situation where the Department of Justice ends up coming at you in a joint operation, right? So now it's crazy because they had let me see here, the way they talk about this here. So they had a weekly average of 1,000 unique bots in contact with the command and control infrastructure located in Turkey, right? So this is based off the Lumen Technologies Black Lotus Labs report that they did, that they shared with the Hacker News. But they said over half of the victims that they were targeting in this were in the United States, with Canada and Ecuador showing the next 2 highest totals. Ecuador is kind of weird to me. I don't know why Ecuador would be so high on that list, but I don't know. I don't know if a lot of end-of-life devices get sent down to Ecuador or something like that.
Yeah, so all the leftovers from us get sent down.
Yeah, is it like the Super Bowl T-shirts for the team that doesn't win?
Maybe, I don't know. It's possible.
Is that what they're doing here? Yeah, I saw Ecuador and I was like, I wonder why them. And I didn't get a chance to look into it after I saw it. I was like, that's a curiosity thing, right? Because I would have figured it'd been another big nation or something like that, right? That does a lot of browsing on the internet that would be on this. But yeah, they've been profiting pretty good off of this between the 4 of them with the 46 million. But to do it as a subscription service, that's not anything new either. Like we've gone over other stories where they've talked about this, where the subscription service for the different malware as a service and things of that nature, right? Where it's been offered out there. But folks, this goes to show, when it comes to updating your devices, make sure you're staying on top of that, right? Get your firmware upgraded, get your patches upgraded. End of life devices, replace them. I know it sucks because you're like, I may have had this router for who knows how long and I'm used to it, but it pays to update them. And honestly, in this day and age, with the internet speeds that they're providing, like it does you good to update them anyway, so you can keep up with what can be provided to you through your internet service provider anyway, right? But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, really, I think this should be a wake-up call to a lot of companies out there that manage IoT devices, maybe not so large organizations, perhaps, that have a lot of unmanaged devices or just things that are just working, around your office. Hey, that's just the stuff that works. That's not doing anything with it, right? But should be some light bulbs should pop up in some of the leadership in these companies where it's like, hey, how do we get visibility of our environment, right? A lot of the reason why this happened with all these IoT devices, it's because of incomplete asset inventories, lack of accountability on some of these items, lack of awareness, and there's no metrics being reported to leadership about this type of stuff. This is a this is a risk factor. So my first thought is like, if like particular, like as an organization, what are some things I could do? One, like Shannon already said, update your firmware, scour the internet for any end of life devices that you may have, but also consider that a lot of people's IoT devices are just like cheap junk from Amazon, right? With no name brands. I think I did mention an example in the past where it's like I was looking at like a dog camera, right? We bought it for like, what is it, like $40. It was super cheap or something like that, but it made you download an app, right? And I look at the app, it's like, this has like a Chinese origin, right? I am not downloading that right onto my phone and then having that connect to my dog camera, right? So it's just little things like that. Like you don't know, because the gamut of the level of devices and the security of those devices is just like, it's so varied. Like you can go from an expensive, completely managed security system, by huge company, Honeywell or whatever it might be, right? Or the spectrum goes to no name generic IoT camera or sensor of that from Amazon. That's like you can get onto, or Temu or something. So like there's a huge variance in that. So my first thing is just like, hey, understand your environment. If you have the capability to add some type of cloud services that could help with that, I know some of the stuff like Microsoft Sentinel and all that stuff is really expensive for a lot of companies because it's a lot of money. But research some of these companies and talk to a cybersecurity company or an MSP, a local MSP, right, that may be able to assist you. So I think a lot of people don't realize, like, you don't have to go to the most expensive, fanciest. You don't have to go buy CrowdStrike or whatever. That stuff's expensive, right? Go to a local, reputable cybersecurity company in your area, in the state, and they could be able to resell you some services. Taking off my consulting hat, passing it over to Ryan. What do you think?
No, I think that's all great advice. So we have to also keep in mind that there are billions of IoT devices out there, right? And every day, some of them become end of life or stop functioning securely. So there's always going to be an attack surface or attack vector out there in homes, businesses, so on and so forth. Just as we instruct, the good guys to protect your stuff, to purchase smartly. There's some new cyber marks coming out, right, that were approved last year or early this year to show people like when equipment is been properly audited and built securely and things of that nature. The bad guys just have to build lists like of popular devices, of end of life devices, and just curate it. And then you get services like this. So it's not to say that theirs is easier, that theirs makes money and ours doesn't, right? Like people are not necessarily concerned until obviously they hit the jackpot and they get breached or turned into a zombie or a bot and used in a DDoS attack or something like that. But bad guys are thinking like this really smart. Like again, we have to give them their flowers. Let's build out a tiered service where we can provide easy access to other bad guys who may not be as tech savvy as we are, and then boom, they have their access. We're the middleman, and we keep it flowing. But obviously, they're going to go to prison for a long time. So crime did pay, right? They enjoyed the money while they could, but now they're going to do hard time somewhere. So this is an international sting. I'm sure they'll just pick the worst prison out of the two countries to send them to. They'll be making clogs for the rest of their life.
Is that do
For
they
instance,
do they have bad Dutch prisons? Like I don't know. I don't know if
yeah,
that's
I
a
don't
yeah.
know. I
It
don't
could have
know.
been Russia or something like that. I'd be like, yeah, some gulag somewhere, right? But
Yeah,
I
right.
don't
Do,
know.
do you want to fashion shoes out of wood for the rest of your life?
It's a trade. It's a trade, right? Like,
Well, Europe, the first thing I think of when you look for a European prison, have you guys seen like Count of Monte Cristo? Just like a random, I love that movie. It's just like, oh, you know, prison in the middle of nowhere in the sea.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one I'd be sent to, but just in general, nobody wants to go to prison for years or what have you. So it pays to a certain extent. Hopefully they enjoyed the money while they had it. But someone to just mimic them. Like you chop off one head, another one grows. It's just the way this works. I'm sure these people had affiliates or people who worked underneath them was just like that was a good idea, and we're going to migrate that over here to use it a different way. So at the end of the day, you hope that people learn from this. When I looked up Ecuador's economy, they are the 8th largest in Latin America, and they are the 69th in the world. With a population of 18 million, their largest exports being oil, bananas, shrimp, and gold. So I'm sure
So
they
that's way down there though. Like U.S., Canada, like I don't know, top 10 with the U.S. and Canada, right? Like that's
right.
so far down there.
I think it's something to do with, like you said, Ryan or Shannon, about the like secondhand devices, or what is it? What I forgot what that process is called in the military, where we they're.
You think they're getting them from Durham?
I'm kidding. I don't speak for the Department of Defense. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Man, listen, we used to give our stuff to the Marines. They loved it because
Yeah,
their budgets were smaller. So they're like,
exactly.
we'll
Yeah,
take
I was
this.
Navy, right? So
Yeah,
they loved hand-me-downs from the
we'll
Army
take
or
this.
Navy.
So there may be some truth to that as well. But yeah, I don't know, or perhaps it's not necessarily that they have the resources that people wanted. It was that they maybe bought the same brands that we buy to a certain extent, right? Like maybe they're just a major importer of the same devices that we purchase.
Yeah.
I know Linksys was heavy on that list. I know it's not an all-inclusive list, but Linksys was listed specifically when it came to the router.
Oh
I
man,
remember back in the day, I
Linksys.
used to have. I know back in the day, I had a Linksys, right? Like I was one of the ones you used. It was cheap. It would get you on like you needed to. But throughout the years, I've migrated away. I'm not saying anything bad about Linksys. I don't know. They might put a good product out there, but
Right.
I just haven't had
It's a
one.
popular brand, right? So
I think home routing systems have been taken over by just ISPs providing a router and modem combo nowadays.
Still have mine separated, but yeah.
That's best practices. You want to be able to control your absolutely separated.
yeah, they're the gateway, but you have your own stuff, or you buy your own gateway. Like I've never gone that far though, where I'm just like I'm going to replace the ISP equipment
Yeah,
with
that's
my
too.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put something in between, but I digress, right? So yeah, so I think you guys covered it pretty well. I don't really have much to add except for their major imports and exports because I had the time to Google it. But continue to tune in throughout the week. Again, Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. We have a lot going on this year, so definitely continue to check us out. On all the platforms, we're growing. We're hitting 15,000 listeners per week on the radio. So thank you very much. This past couple of weeks, we've been blowing up downloads wise, so it's hard to give you an average. So it used to be 400 to 500 per week. This past couple of weeks, we've been hitting 1,000 per week. So hopefully that continues. And then YouTube is YouTube. It's doing the same thing it's always done. I don't understand YouTube metrics, so don't quote me there. But hit up the website. Or hit up anything that goes by the other side of the firewall, the other side of FW, or ask a CISSP. But we now own the URL, the other side of the firewall.com, as well as ramcyber.io. So check those out. Hit me up personally. I'm RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. Where can I find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon. Last name spelled A Bacon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.